Every night between 10 p.m. and 3 a.m., your entire internal circuit flips into a mode you never consciously feel, but it decides the clarity of your next day, your emotional voltage, and even the precision of your intuition. The pineal gland isn't a spiritual antenna. It's a night shift power relay that reroutes your whole energetic system the moment darkness hits. Most people think sleep is the body shutting down. It's the exact opposite. It's when your hidden circuitry comes online. Here's the part nobody explains. The pineal doesn't just release melatonin, it recalibrates the electrical timing of your field. It's like a master capacitor, quietly charging, regulating and synchronizing every microsignal your brain will use tomorrow. If your daytime consciousness is the visible wiring, this nighttime phase is the unseen motherboard resetting itself with surgical precision. And the moment you cross that 10 p.m. threshold, the first wave of recalibration begins whether you're aligned with it or not. Between 11 p.m. and midnight, the pineal starts clearing static, emotional residue, sensory overload, digital noise. But the real secret happens after midnight. Around 1 to 3 a.m., the gland switches into its deepest electrical broadcast, synchronizing brain hemispheres and generating a signal so coherent it acts like a blueprint for your next 24 hours. If you've ever woken up clear for no reason or heavy for no reason, this is why. The blueprint was corrupted or encoded cleanly while you slept. Most people miss this window. Worse, they fight it without knowing. Let me show you what your system is actually doing in those hours, and why ignoring that circuitry costs you the power you've been trying to reclaim. Your pineal gland runs on a timing code most people never notice. It listens to darkness like a sensor waiting for a precise voltage drop. Once the environment dims, it begins translating the absence of light into an internal electrical command. That command spreads through your system like a quiet pulse. And this is where the hidden mechanism starts. The pineal doesn't just produce melatonin, it switches your whole neural grid from external processing to internal reconstruction. Think of your brain as a circuit with two modes: outward signal tracking during the day, inward signal repair at night. From 10 p.m. onward, the pineal flips the breaker. Suddenly, the energy that was scattered across attention, movement, social engagement, and stress gets rerouted toward one central task: restoring coherence. Here's the part almost nobody understands. Every thought you had during the day leaves behind a faint electrical residue. It's like small static charges sticking to the edges of your internal wiring. Normally you don't feel it, but it interferes with the clean flow of your next day's impulses. The pineal's real function is to flush that static out of the circuit. It uses biochemical shifts to create an electrical environment that dissolves signal noise. That's why, after 10 p.m., your brain naturally starts getting heavier, slower. It's lowering voltage so recalibration can begin. If you override this phase with bright screens, constant stimulation, or emotional agitation, the pineal's timing code gets scrambled. The reset doesn't initiate fully. You wake up feeling like your mind is slightly misaligned. Not exhausted, but off frequency, like the signal doesn't lock into place. Then comes the deeper phase. Around midnight to 1 a.m., the pineal starts synchronizing the hemispheres. It's not mystical, it's mechanical. It equalizes electrical patterns between left and right brain, creating a smoother bandwidth for processing. When this harmony doesn't happen, you wake up split, logical mind on one side, emotional charge on the other. And when the clock moves into the 2 to 3 a.m. zone, the gland enters its most intense broadcast. The signal it emits becomes a kind of blueprint, imprinting how your system will perceive, interpret, and respond during the next waking cycle. Most people never realize that tomorrow's clarity is built in that dark window. What happens when this broadcast is disrupted is even more revealing. Most people think the myth is that the pineal is some mystical third eye, but the real myth is even more damaging. The idea that nighttime is passive. It isn't. Nighttime is when your inner circuit becomes writable. And because people don't know this, they let the wrong signals program them. Let me break the illusion cleanly. Your pineal isn't trying to create visions. It's trying to restore voltage integrity. When you stay awake past your natural dimming window, your system interprets it as an emergency. Cortisol rises. The pineal delays its electrical shift. And here's the twist. The mind then starts looping unresolved impulses from the day because the circuit is caught between modes, neither fully active nor fully restorative. This is how emotional residue gets wired deeper, not dissolved. Picture this through a real scenario. You had an argument at 6 p.m. The emotional charge didn't fully discharge. It stuck to the edges of your internal wiring like micro-resistance. If you align with the 10 p.m. 3 a.m. cycle, the pineal uses the darkness phase to dissolve that residual charge. But if you're scrolling, thinking, replaying, resisting sleep, the pineal's timing code gets distorted. The charge doesn't dissolve, it gets embedded. You wake up with the same emotional state, but now it feels older, heavier, like it didn't come from yesterday but from somewhere deeper. That's not psychology. That's circuitry that never got reset. And here's the part that silently sabotages millions of people. The pineal can't force the reset if your brain is still running at daytime amplitude. It needs voltage to drop so it can perform that cleaning sweep. When you don't let it, your system behaves like an overloaded circuit, reactive, unfocused, easily triggered, slightly misaligned with reality. You think it's personality, it's timing, you think it's mood, it's miscalibrated charge. And the moment you realize this, something clicks. Your emotional stability tomorrow depends on whether your pineal could complete its rewiring tonight. But there's an even stranger consequence to missing that nighttime recalibration. A consequence that explains why some people wake up already drained, even after 8 hours. Your nervous system is the voltage regulator of this entire circuit, and the pineal depends on it more than anyone realizes. If your nerves are firing in scattered bursts, the pineal can't read the internal environment cleanly. It's like trying to tune a precise electrical relay while the rest of the wiring is shaking. Stability isn't calmness, it's coherence. And coherence is what makes the pineal's nighttime broadcast accurate. When your nervous system is overloaded from the day, notifications, conversations, tension, suppressed reactions, it holds a charge that keeps the circuit buzzing. That buzzing blocks the natural shift into the restoration phase. You feel it as restlessness, overthinking, irritability, that strange inner pressure where your mind wants to shut down but your body keeps firing in loops. Here's the truth most people never track. Your nervous system sends the pineal a signal that says safe or not safe. Only when the signal reads safe does the pineal fully drop voltage levels and activate the deep recalibration sequence. If your system still thinks you're under threat, not physical threat but emotional or cognitive threat, the voltage remains too high. And when voltage stays high, the pineal can't initiate its cleansing sweep. Your brain goes to sleep without entering its true repair mode. You wake up physically rested but energetically scrambled, like a device that shut off without completing a data reset. To restore stability, you need a moment of deliberate recalibration before the window begins. A 30-45 second practice is enough to shift the whole circuit. Here's the version that works most consistently. Sit or lie down, spine neutral. Inhale slowly for 4 seconds, hold for 2, exhale for 6. But here's the energetic mechanism behind it. During the exhale, consciously drop your attention into the center of your chest, as if you're lowering a current into a grounding wire. That downward shift tells the nervous system to release surface charge. After 2 or 3 breaths, the internal buzzing reduces. After 6 to 8, the whole system enters a softer electrical state. This gives the pineal clean input. The circuit is ready, voltage is low, you can initiate the night shift. When you reach this state before midnight, something remarkable happens. The pineal's hemispheric synchronization becomes smoother, almost effortless. And that smoothness unlocks a deeper layer of emotional alchemy you usually never access. A layer that will change how power moves through you. Emotion isn't a weakness in this circuit. It's the voltage that gives the system force. Most people treat emotion like something to suppress or manage, but suppression doesn't reduce charge. It stores it. And once stored, that charge becomes the most potent fuel the pineal works with during the 10 p.m. 3 a.m. window. Here's what actually happens. Every unresolved emotion from the day carries an electrical signature. Anger has one bandwidth, fear has another, excitement another. When you go to sleep aligned with the natural dimming cycle, the pineal pulls those emotional charges into the background current and begins to convert them. It's like transforming raw electricity into stable, usable power. But when you resist those emotions, pretend you're fine, or distract yourself late into the night, you trap that charge in an unfinished loop. And an unfinished loop becomes a leak, a point where the circuit drains instead of amplifies. Let me show you this mechanically, not poetically. When you experience something emotionally heavy, a disappointment, a confrontation, a moment of insecurity, your system generates a spike of electrical activity. If you let that spike complete, it settles. If you interrupt it by forcing calm, focusing outward, numbing with screens or habits, The spike freezes mid-arc. That frozen arc becomes the residue the pineal is designed to process. But if you're still overstimulating yourself past 10 or 11 p.m., the pineal's timing code doesn't activate cleanly. It tries to run the conversion sequence while your system is still firing daytime impulses. It's like trying to repair wiring while the wires are still carrying live current. The result is fragmentation, a signal that breaks into pieces. You wake up with a mood that doesn't match your life because the emotional charge didn't transform into fuel. It remained a raw surge. Here's the empowering twist. When you allow yourself to feel the emotion fully before the window begins, not dramatizing it, just letting the charge complete, the pineal receives a clean waveform. Clean waveforms convert into power. People who seem naturally confident, grounded, perceptive aren't lucky. Their circuits maintain fewer frozen arcs. They give the pineal material it can alchemize into coherence. And if you've ever wondered why some nights you wake up with inexplicable clarity, while other nights you wake with a heaviness that seems to come from nowhere, the real reason is hidden in a deeper layer of this circuit, one that most people never realize is being hijacked. There's a part of your field that most people never notice. The part that becomes vulnerable when the pineal enters its recalibration cycle. Think of your system as a circuit running two layers, the active layer you use during the day and the passive layer exposed at night. During the 10 p.m. 3 a.m. window, the active layer powers down and the passive layer becomes accessible. This is where the hijack happens, not from anything mystical, from patterns you don't even know you're broadcasting. When your voltage drops and the pineal begins its cleaning sweep, old imprints, old thought loops, old emotional residues rise to the surface. If your attention isn't steady, those imprints take control of the circuit for the night. You don't attract these loops. They're already stored inside the wiring, waiting for low voltage hours to reassert themselves. What's even more revealing is this. Your system reads unprocessed experiences as open circuits. Open circuits demand closure. So while the pineal is trying to run its synchronization and blueprint formation, the open circuits start feeding noise into the signal. This is how the hijack feels from the inside. You lie down tired, but suddenly your mind wakes up, replaying moments you didn't consciously choose. That replay is not mental. It's electrical. The pineal is trying to rewrite the blueprint, but the lingering charge from unresolved experiences keeps injecting old data into the circuit. You wake up with your past louder than your present. Here's a real scenario. Imagine you had social overload during the day. Too many interactions, too much sensory input, too much subtle pressure to respond, adjust, perform. You didn't feel drained in the moment, but at night, when the pineal tries to decrease the voltage, your system suddenly reacts like it's exposed. The open circuits flare. The thoughts start looping. The emotional residues spike. You feel unrested even before falling asleep. This is the hijack. The daytime charge continues running into the nighttime blueprint. Reclaiming command isn't about forcing yourself to think positive or meditate until your mind shuts up. It's about closing those circuits before the pineal window begins. You do this by giving each leftover impulse a tiny discharge, a breath, a small acknowledgement, a physical release. When you do, the pineal receives a clean internal environment and gains full control of the blueprint. And once you learn how to prevent the hijack, you can start reprogramming the circuit deliberately, using simple tools that shift voltage, reset charge, and seal the field so the night works for you instead of against you. Reprogramming your internal circuit isn't mystical, it's mechanical, and the pineal becomes far more precise when you give it the right inputs before the 10 p.m. 3 a.m. window. Think of this like preparing a device before a firmware update. If the system is scattered, overloaded, or leaking charge, the update corrupts. But if the voltage is regulated, the pineal can rewrite your internal blueprint with clean data. There are 4 tools I use because they interact directly with the body's electrical behavior, not with imagination or wishful thinking. The first is breath code sync. Most people breathe randomly, with no relationship to voltage. When you extend your exhale longer than your inhale, you're not relaxing, you're adjusting internal charge. The exhale is a downward current. When you make it longer, you force the system to release microtension across the chest and gut circuits. That drop is the signal the pineal needs to start shifting modes. Try this pattern. Inhale for 4, exhale for 7. Do it 6 cycles. You'll feel your internal wiring soften. That softness is readiness. The second tool is charge reset. You take your right hand and place it over the center of your chest, lightly, not pressing. and breathe once into that spot as if you're warming it from the inside. This creates a physical anchor for your attention and drains scattered impulses back into one coherent point. It interrupts looping thoughts because loops need dispersed attention to survive. When attention converges, the loops lose power. The third is focus redirect. This isn't about distraction, it's about rerouting current. When your mind fixates on something unresolved at night, it's because an open circuit is trying to close. Instead of wrestling with the thought, shift your internal focus toward a single sensory detail: the weight of your body on the bed, the coolness of the air, the sound of your breath. This pulls energy out of the loop and into the present circuit, stopping the hijack without force. And the fourth tool is Field Seal. You imagine a thin layer of sensation, not light, not imagery, around the surface of your skin, almost like noticing the boundary of your body. Holding awareness there for even 20 seconds closes energetic leaks. The pineal reads this as structural integrity. The system is contained, the environment stable, the blueprint safe to rewrite. Have you ever felt your mood shift the moment you entered a room, even before anyone spoke? Tell me that moment. It reveals how sensitive your circuit already is and how quickly it can be recalibrated. Every system has traps, not because you're weak, but because your circuitry is patterned by repetition. And during the 10 p.m. 3 a.m. window, these traps become louder than usual since voltage drops and old imprints rise. The first trap is the leak. When a part of your attention keeps drifting toward unfinished conversations, social media, or low-level anxieties. A leak isn't mental, it's electrical. It shows up when your circuit tries to hold a stable charge, but something pulls it outward. You feel it as restlessness, the urge to check your phone, the sudden spike of thoughts right when you want to sleep. A leak forms whenever your energy is directed outward, while the pineal needs it inward. If you don't close it, the pineal wastes half its recalibration cycle just trying to stabilize the field. Another trap is overforce. People think relaxation happens by trying to calm down, but the moment you force the system, you raise voltage. Raised voltage blocks the pineal's shift into low-frequency repair. Overforce feels like tightening your jaw, trying too hard to empty the mind, or mentally pushing yourself into sleep. It's the equivalent of pulling the brakes while flooring the accelerator. The circuit overheats. The pineal delays its recalibration. You wake up feeling wired and drained at the same time. Then there's the split signal, the most dangerous trap. A split signal happens when your mind wants one state, but your body holds another. For example, your mind says, "I want rest," but your body is in alert mode from unresolved adrenaline. Or your body is exhausted, but your thoughts race through imaginary outcomes. This mismatch creates friction. The pineal depends on alignment between mind and body to form a coherent blueprint, and split signals create static that interferes with the encoding process. You wake up in a split state, part of you present, part of you stuck in yesterday's charge. And the most subtle trap isn't even emotional, it's habitual. Staying just a little too awake, pushing bedtime by 20 minutes, telling yourself you'll wind down soon. These micro-delays break the precise timing of the pineal's switch. Miss the timing, and the broadcast weakens. The blueprint blurs. But once you understand these traps, you can start moving differently, literally shifting the way you transition through your nights and mornings so your system carries coherence even while you're in motion. Integration isn't something that happens in your mind. It happens in the way your whole circuit behaves while you're moving through the world. Most people think the pineal's work ends when they wake up, but that's when its blueprint actually begins to express itself. From the moment you open your eyes, your system is running the pattern encoded between 10 p.m. and 3 a.m. If the blueprint was clean, your movements feel smooth, your thoughts arrive in order, your reactions stay precise. If the blueprint was scrambled, everything feels slightly out of phase. Not wrong, just misaligned by a fraction of a signal. Integration in motion is how you stitch the blueprint into your waking life, so the clarity created at night becomes strength during the day. The first way you feel integration is in micro-choices. Your system responds faster, but softer. You don't need to push. You don't need to think 5 steps ahead. Your internal wiring pulls you toward the right actions because the pineal just synchronized your hemispheres hours earlier. This is why on some mornings you handle things effortlessly. You're not motivated. Your circuit is coherent. The pineal set the rhythm, and your body follows it. When you move through your morning with this awareness, you anchor the blueprint deeper. You're not performing a routine. You're stabilizing the signal. Another layer of integration happens when life throws friction at you. Someone bumps into you. A message triggers you. A task builds pressure. Normally, your system reacts instantly, using the emotional residue of the previous day. But when the pineal's blueprint encoded cleanly, you respond from a different current, slower, clearer, grounded. You feel the emotion, but it doesn't hijack you. This is integration, the moment your nighttime coherence overrides old patterns without needing force. You're not suppressing anything. You're running a cleaner circuit. And here's the subtle but powerful part. When you're fully integrated, your field becomes predictable to yourself. You can sense when voltage rises too fast. You can feel when a leak starts forming. You catch the split signal before it splits. This is what turns you from reactive to sovereign, because you're reading your circuitry in real time instead of stumbling into the same loops. But there's a threshold most people never cross. A moment when the integrated state becomes so stable that it spills into bigger domains: money, connections, purpose, influence. And once that happens, the night blueprint stops being personal. It becomes power. Power scales when the circuit stops working only for survival and begins working for expansion. And the pineal's nighttime blueprint doesn't just influence your mood, it sets the electrical pattern you use to move through every major domain of your life. When the blueprint is clean, your system broadcasts a stable internal rhythm. People feel it before they understand it. Opportunities track coherence the same way metal tracks a magnet, silently, automatically, without negotiation. And because the pineal synchronizes both hemispheres during that midnight window, you wake with access to logic and intuition at the same time, a combination most people never operate from. That combination is what bends external circumstances. In the domain of money, coherence shows up as clarity under pressure. You make faster decisions because your inner circuit isn't battling static. You sense which moves drain you and which moves open the path. People think financial momentum is skill alone. It's not. It's signal integrity. When your blueprint is scrambled, you overthink, hesitate, or push too hard. When it's clean, you move with precision. The right email at the right time, the right idea appearing when needed, the right boundary protecting your bandwidth. Money follows that rhythm because money responds to stability. In relationships, the blueprint expresses as a calm gravitational pull. You stop leaking charge through insecurity or over-explanation. You stop reading danger where there is none. Your system communicates in silence, the steadiness of someone whose wiring isn't hijacked by yesterday's emotional residue. People relax around you because they feel your coherence. And the interactions that used to drain you lose their power because the open circuits that fed them have been closed. Suddenly, you're not reacting from old imprints. You're meeting the moment with the blueprint encoded last night. Purpose becomes clearer too, not because you figure it out, but because noise stops competing with your deeper impulses. The pineal's broadcast becomes like an internal compass, not mystical, mechanical. It reduces interference so you can actually feel the direction your system wants to move. And once the system moves cleanly, life responds. Alignments speed up, resistance drops. Here's a real scenario. You wake after a night where the pineal completed its cycle without interruption. You go to work or school or step into a conversation, and suddenly the next step feels obvious. Not forced, not guessed, just electrically aligned. That's the blueprint expressing in real time. But there's a state beyond even this, a level where the blueprint stops being something that influences your life and becomes something no one can disrupt. When your circuit reaches sovereignty, something fundamental shifts. You stop being programmable by external signals. The pineal's nighttime blueprint becomes so consistent, so cleanly encoded, that your system no longer absorbs stray emotional charge, social pressure, or environmental noise the way it used to. Sovereignty isn't detachment, it's stability. It's the moment the internal blueprint becomes stronger than the external broadcast around you. Most people live the opposite way. Their circuitry bends to whatever environment they're in. But when your pineal completes its recalibration night after night, the wiring stops bending. It begins instructing. You'll notice it first in how you handle conflict. Before sovereignty, an argument, a tone shift, a misunderstanding could spike your voltage and scramble your blueprint for hours. After sovereignty, you feel the spike for a second, and then it dissolves. Your system doesn't hold on to the charge because nothing inside you is open for hijack. The pineal has been closing those circuits each night, sealing the points where old imprints used to hook you. You can feel emotion without being captured by it. That's freedom. The next expression shows up in your boundaries. They stop being mental rules and become an energetic stance. You don't force them. Your circuit simply refuses to leak. People sense it instantly. The silent clarity of someone who doesn't lose voltage trying to be understood, validated, or accepted. You become unreadable to manipulation. Not because you're guarded, but because coherence doesn't give attackers anything to grip. Chaos can't latch onto a closed circuit. Then there's perception. When the pineal's nightly blueprint is stable over weeks or months, your intuition becomes shockingly precise, not mystical, mechanical. Both hemispheres remain synchronized even during the day, and that creates a kind of electrical clarity that lets you sense incongruence, false intentions, or misaligned opportunities before your conscious mind catches up. You don't guess, you just know. Your field reads reality with less interference. And the final sign of sovereignty is this: your emotional state becomes self-generated, not reactive, not borrowed, not inherited. The blueprint you formed at night becomes the emotional tone you project during the day. External chaos may pass by you, but it no longer enters you. Your system stops being porous. This is the point where you stop surviving your nights and start commanding them, and that command leads to the final transformation. When the circuit completes its arc, you begin to feel the pineal not as an idea, but as a silent regulator shaping the architecture of your entire inner world. Between 10 p.m. and 3 a.m., it becomes the core capacitor of your system, gathering the scattered impulses of your day, dissolving the static, synchronizing the hemispheres, and imprinting tomorrow's rhythm with a precision you only notice once you've lived it. And when the calibration succeeds night after night, something extraordinary happens. Your whole being starts to operate like a stable electrical sphere. Thought becomes cleaner. Emotion becomes fuel instead of residue. Movement becomes intention instead of reaction. You don't chase alignment, you generate it. Imagine your circuit as a dark room lit by a single pulse at its center. Each night, the pineal brightens that pulse, smoothing the edges of your internal wiring. The static dissolves, the charge becomes usable, and by morning, the room glows evenly. No shadows pulling you backward, no residues hijacking your clarity. Most people never experience this because they interrupt the cycle with overstimulation, unresolved emotion, or scattered attention. But once you allow the pineal to complete its nightly sweep, the blueprint becomes unmistakable. You wake with a sense of precision, like reality finally matches the rhythm inside you. And here's the image I want to leave in your mind. Picture your pineal as a small, steady circuit at the center of your skull, a quiet sphere that hums with a low, stable frequency. When you honor the night window, that sphere doesn't just regulate sleep. It shapes your signal, your decisions, your boundaries, your trajectory. It becomes the metronome of your life. The world responds to its coherence. If you've ever felt the exact moment your whole body exhaled after midnight, when everything softened and the mind finally stopped pushing, tell me in the comments. That moment reveals the true power of your circuitry, and it's where your transformation actually begins.